Hey, congratulations on your film, Killer of Men.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. This is one captivating film, I do have to admit. So we have to hear it from you is where the original idea came from for Killer of Men.
That's a good question. There's the real answer and the fake answer. The real answer is you don't really know where ideas come from. You could try to go back in time and isolate different moments that led to that story, but it's different. There's many different influences. Um, one particular influence, I had somebody who was very close to me who confessed to me in confidence that he doesn't have any emotion. And I think that probably is what, set is when a bomb went off in my head, but it wasn't necessarily about, it's not like I became obsessed with, sociopaths and started doing research or anything like that. It resonated with me when he said that because luckily I do feel emotion. And this is obviously but I don't think this person was your, textbook sociopath. I think it was more figurative. Like he just was extremely numb inside. And that was something that I think is just relatable. Obviously, in our film, it's a very, very heightened version of somebody who doesn't feel emotion. It's a radical metaphor for, I think, at least the way I've, experienced life at times where you become numb and hopefully other people. I mean, I hope other people aren't numb, but you know what I mean.
So how did you want to craft this character, the man here? Because especially his look, because he has this very stoic look. He portrays, the lack of empathy. Tell us your craft, how you wanted to craft this character onto screen.
Well, the truth is, John Peterson, the lead actor, he did a lot of the work. I mean, he's a magical actor, and he captured something that I'd be lying if I said I really fully foresaw all of that. A lot of that was his own genius. However, the look as far as like his costume, he's always wearing that leather jacket and things like that, and his pale complexion. That happened because I had been locked out of where I was living. And for one night, I didn't want to wake the people who were sleeping. So I started just wandering about the streets of New York. And the idea was kind of growing because at the time I was trying to figure out how to basically make a movie when I had no access to the film industry, the so-called professional film industry. So I was trying to think in like budgetary terms, and I was walking through the streets in New York, and I was seeing these alleyways. Like a lot of the locations I discovered in this one night where I just was wandering for a few hours, and then I passed by a grocery store and I saw a man in a leather jacket with a pale complexion and the gray hair and blackish gray hair, and it was like, that's the guy. That's the protagonist of this story. So it fell into my lap, I guess. Yeah.
So what is why didn't you give the man any names? You just wanted basically keep him very mysterious because he was mysterious from start to finish, even trying to figure out his how do you say his motivations on how he chooses his victims and random victims in a way
Yeah.
mysterious. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I gravitate towards mystery and mysterious stories. My favorite movies are it would fall into that camp. I'm a huge fan of David Lynch, whose work is extremely surreal, and I think I think there's a fine line between being mysterious just for the sake of being mysterious, where it becomes a little cliche maybe. But what I think, and hopefully we achieved some, even if we got a hair's breadth close to even if we got to, even if we somewhat were able to achieve this feeling, which is with Lynch and the great surrealist filmmakers or filmmakers who don't really don't show and don't tell. Like there's a film called The Samurai, a French film, Les Samurai, which is a very also, you don't know anything about the protagonist, and obviously more recently Nick Winding Refn's Drive. Um, and I think that those films, because you don't get caught up in what we're used to with a story, like we're used to the dinner scene, and we get to hear, and characters go off into a monologue about their life and what maybe their parents did to them. And I'm not, those are great movies too, and they have their place too. But the former is a very experiential type of movie, I think. And if it works, if the receiver of the work shuts off enough of allows themselves to get taken along this river. I think by keeping it like that, not giving names to things, not giving, I guess what I'm trying to say is not giving language, written language and literary language to explain something that, in my opinion, can transcend that, which is the images and the sound that create experiential experience that is antithetical to conversation and exposition.
There we go. There we go. Now, how much does the city, because the city itself, I feel like your background lends to the idea of the lack of love, the loneliness to your character.
Well, I wouldn't say lack of love. I'm fortunate to have a lot of people who love me and loved me growing up. Um, maybe a psychologist could analyze me and claim there's unconscious influences, but consciously I wasn't drawing from my childhood or any yeah.
Now, tell us about the approach of filming a killer of men, because of course, a lot of the scenes were at night, which I know a lot of directors find that fairly difficult.
Yeah, so the interesting thing is that for daytime, for a film that is basically a zero budget film, I think is more difficult than nighttime, because daytime you're at the mercy of the sun. If you don't have flags, if you don't have a proper gaffer, it's very difficult to control the sunlight, and you have very small windows of time. May perhaps depending on what you're going for, and you end up a lot of the time with very harsh, unless you get an overcast day, which we got lucky sometimes. It's very difficult. But at nighttime, uh, the lighting is all there. You go to if you're on the subway at night, if you're walking through the streets of New York, I mean, it's cinema that has escaped the screen. So I think nighttime for a film on a budget actually is very useful. For at least for us, it was.
So how did you want to approach the film, especially your close-ups, and I want to call it off-screen violence in its own way, because you didn't want to basically completely show the blood and gore any of these victims.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, I wasn't, I'm not trying, I wasn't trying to make a gratuitous slasher film. It's not really about the murder or the people getting murdered. It's about the person who's murdering. It's about the man who was doing these acts, about how he is reacting to these things. And then, of course, I think that certain things, if they're off screen, the imagination is more powerful than anything you'll ever show. So, my goal isn't for people to imagine unspoken horror. This isn't Jaws. I don't think I have the technical prowess to even do something like that. So really it's more about the by not focusing, I didn't want, it's not really about that. Those things are about the development of man, the nameless protagonist, and hopefully a mirror for people, a proxy for people to experience these things. So allow the imagination to fill in the blanks and allow the the person receiving the work um to start to, you know, become sort of become the character or see through the character's eyes. You know, the character is like a video game. Um, you know, I don't even know what the word is, RPG, whatever they call it. Yeah.
Now the artwork that's portrayed in this film, I know as an independent movie, you have to either find an artist or did you do it yourself?
It was my neighbor who so happens to have the same last name as me, but we're not related. Her name is Haya Friedman. She was in art school. She does drawing lessons and whatnot. And I asked her to if she could do it, and she did it. And that was it.
Well said, well said. Well, let me wrap it up with one last question. So, what's next after Killer of Men with you?
I, as I said, I like mystery. I don't know yet. There are um, a lot of different projects on the table that I'm very excited about. You know, which one will end up being the one is hard to know, but it's far too early for me to really answer that confidently. Uh, yeah.
Well said. Oh, and before I leave, I'm not Jewish, so I didn't know how to pronounce your first name. Could you tell me
I
how
don't know how to.
you
I
don't?
don't even know. Tzvi.
Sabi. So it
You
is
got
Jewish.
it. Perfect. You
Okay,
got it right there.
terrific. Well, Sabi, thank you very much for sharing this conversation with us for Killer of Men. Everyone needs to check it out. It is deeply how can you say captivating. People will watch it from start to finish. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate it. That's very kind of you to say. Thank you for your time as well.